Hi everybody, I'm Howard, and this is Otto's Retirement Corner. So, as the thumbnail shows you, I was canceled by a bank. And when I say I was canceled, they canceled a credit card. Um, I was in a drive-through restaurant, which I rarely do, but I was getting some vegan hot dogs from Portillo's for me and my wife, and I gave my credit card, and they said it's been declined. Okay, I'm not going to sit there on the phone and call the bank at that moment, so I gave him another credit card. My wife at the same time, about a week ago, was in Chicago and called me and told me the bank, I think Trader Joe's or something, declined the same credit card. So we've had troubles in the past with when she travels. Sometimes they don't approve it, although they had already approved it a couple days before. So, just kind of ignored it. So after I got back, I called the bank, and the bank is BMO Bank, or Bank of Montreal. The U.S. version is owned by Bank of Montreal. It used to be BMO Harris, or Harris Bank, until BMO bought it. And I called them up, and they said, yeah, we declined your transaction because as of April 1st, and this was, April 9th or 10th or whatever it was. We did a bank-wide review of our credit cards and decided to cancel yours. Why? Why'd you do that? No reason. No reason. We just decided to cancel it. Well, there was some reason, right? You made some decision based upon some metric and decided to cancel it, right? Am I late? Am I delinquent? Have I missed a payment? No, no, no. Do I pay my bill on time? Yeah, okay. So why? Well, we just did a bank-wide review and decided to cancel your card. No reason given. Okay. Obviously, I know I'm not going to get anywhere. And then she said, look in your contract. We can cancel whenever we want. I'm not going to look in my contract. My guess is, yes, that's true. They can cancel whenever they want. And they wanted to, and they canceled me. So I ended with, well, I've had a family discussion with my wife, and we did a review of all our credit cards, and we've decided we're not going to pay our bill for yours this last session. So, that wraps up the account on both sides. We won't expect to use it anymore. You shouldn't expect us to pay you anymore. I said, good. She didn't get it. She really had no clue what I was saying. So we just hung up, and that was the end of it. Have you seen this before? Here's my guess. I've had the card for about 9, 10 years or so, maybe 11, now that I think about it. I used to work for PNC Bank in the Chicago area. Bank of the West came and hired me away and moved me out to San Francisco area. And as a good employee, I decided to, start a checking account with Bank of the West and start their credit card, because this particular credit card, it's called a 1, 2, 3, 4 card, had a 3% cash back on all of my restaurant and grocery store purchases. And it was the best cash back of any bank card. So, it worked out perfectly. Subsequently, BMO Harris, shortly after I retired almost 3 years ago, came and bought Bank of the West. So they brought that card over with them. And again, my only guess is I pay my bill on time, and I don't make any money for them through interest. And I only use it for restaurants and grocery stores. That's, if you can hear, that's Juno complaining. Juno, come here, sweetie. So they weren't making any money on me, and the 3% they were paying me back might have been equal to or close to whatever the merchants were paying them for me using them. So it was either I was close to break even, or they maybe were losing a little bit of money on the card, and they decided just to end it. So I get that. The interesting thing is I've had a couple of Citibank cards for since 1983, I think, 42 years now. I've done the exact same thing with them. Juno, come here, sweetie, come here. She's mad because she can't be on camera. So I pay off that balance every time. The only difference is, their rewards are typically 2% for most categories, and occasionally they have 5% specials. So, at times they lose money on me, at times they make a little bit of money, not from me paying interest, but from merchants paying them for me using that. Either way, it's the same situation, And, you know, Citi has never thought to cancel me. Um, you know, I have other cards too. You know, I have a PNC card that I use just for gas because it pays me 4% on gas and like 1% or a quarter percent for everything else, whatever it is. So I have several cards I use for, you know, specific purposes: gas, food, everything else. And I move the cards around and I make back, you know, six, eight, maybe 1,000, 600, 800, maybe $1,000 a year for rewards, and I don't pay any interest. Um, you know, what am I going to do? So you know, we did find another card from Capital One that's going to pay 3% on food, so we already have that. I like to be loyal when I can, you know, but apparently banks aren't, and I've worked for banks for a long time, and I understand that. I'm not saying it's good or right, but I understand it. I know they do that. I know they're out for money, and they really don't care about people. And, you know, especially when you look at Wells Fargo, you know, they've committed a lot of crimes. I'm sure other banks do similar things. I'm not going to name any particular banks or suggest I know what it is they do, but I have a hint, having been in the business. You know, I've never been on the retail side. I've always worked on the commercial side. And, you know, we like to do what's called share of wallet. I understand that, where, you know, I had a, I closed a checking account with BMO, so all I had was a credit card. And we say share of wallet is, you know, they want their salespeople to go out and grab every kind of relationship they can. So they wanted, you know, a checking account, they wanted a mortgage, they wanted a car loan, you know, whatever they can get. They want a bigger share of that customer's wallet and not have to divvy it up with other banks. So I had one product with them and nothing else, and they decided, you know, he's not making money for us, let's go elsewhere. Okay. It made me angry because they never notified me. You know, here it was April 9th or 10th, and they said, as of April 1st, we cut off your card. Well, you know, there's times I go to Trader Joe's and we ring up $450, $500 worth of food. Imagine me standing there with my card not working and checking out, you know, shopping for and checking out all this food, and I'm stuck, you know. If that were to happen, I have another card, but they don't know that, you know. So, hey, a little heads up would have been nice. Well, we do have a letter going out today, and again, this was like the 9th or 10th. Oh, good. Thank you for notifying me. You know, I haven't gotten the letter yet. You know, what's today? The 14th. You know, so I could have still been out there trying to use the card, and you know, and it's a little embarrassing getting declined. You know, you don't want to go into your whole life story with a cashier and say, oh, it's really not my fault. You know, it's like, okay, I got another card. Here's another card. It's a minimal embarrassment for me or for my wife, but it's wrong. It's stupid. I have no, you know, other than not paying them, which I'm still considering, you know, because they can, what are they going to do? Send me to collection? I don't pay collection, and you know, then they ding my credit score. So what? You know, I'm not looking to buy anything on credit for the next, you know, for the next 20 years of my life, and you know, I'll die. You know, if I buy a car, I'm not going to buy it on credit. You know, so screw them. You know, on the other hand, I'll probably come to my senses and pay it. So tell me your experiences. You know, anything like this happened to you? You know, I know during the credit crisis in 2008, 2009, some of those things happened. You know, banks had to reassess where they were putting out their capital, and they were cutting off some people. But is this the way to do it? Am I taking it too personally? I'm actually not. Like I said, I understand it, and it just makes me mad the way they did it. So again, tell me your experiences. You know, have banks screwed you in this way? Which banks? Name the banks. BMO, I'm naming you. You know, if you're in the Chicagoland area where they're based, you know, watch out for these guys. You know, they bought my relationship and gave it up, but that's life. So thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.